Hello and welcome to another episode of the Diet Obsessed podcast. I am your host, Veronica Santarelli. I am a certified personal trainer, nutrition and weight loss coach, and this podcast is for those of us who are just obsessed with everything related to improving health and longevity with a special emphasis on food, fitness, and diet culture. All right, let's get into the show. But first, if you want to support the show, there are a few ways that you can do that. First of all, if you just want to subscribe to this show, that's a huge help. This is my very first episode on YouTube, so I want to build up my subscribers. So just by clicking on subscribe, that is a huge help. Also, so this is a free show. I do 4 shows a month. 2 of them are premium content behind a paywall, and 2 of them are completely free and public. And so this is one of the free ones. So if you do enjoy the show, you can subscribe to the premium content, which is extra juicy, extra personal, extra controversial content. You can subscribe through Patreon. I have 2 levels on Patreon, and then I also have a way to subscribe through Apple Podcasts. Really, through any podcast host that you listen to, there should be a way to subscribe, but 2 of the direct ways are through Apple Podcasts and through Patreon. So this week will be a free one, next week will be a subscriber-only edition, and I just feel more comfortable speaking behind a paywall. So there's more and juicier stuff coming next week behind the paywall. And then finally, another way you can also help, again, that doesn't cost anything, just like subscribing on YouTube, is by just leaving a rating or a review. That means leave some stars, leave a comment, wherever you listen to podcasts, or especially on iTunes. I know that really helps us podcasters. So I would very much appreciate your support. All right, well, let's get into the show. So this will be interesting. This is going to be my very first, I did do my very first video pod on last month's VIP show. And it was very casual. I was sitting back on the bed. This is our spare room. And I didn't have any extra lighting. I really just wanted to see if this webcam was going to work. And again, it took me a while to get here. So I've been trying to do this for a little over a month now, and I finally figured it out enough to get to this point. So you will see something on YouTube. I'm not going to say it's going to be great, but I do need to slowly learn some of the editing. I want to be able to bring in video clips and do all kinds of fancy stuff, but baby steps here. First, we are finally at least on YouTube. So that is a huge accomplishment for Veronica, okay? So for anyone new to this show, I always start out with some segments that deal with my personal life, and all health and wellness, food related, things from the news, things that again are just personal to me and my journey. And then I always end with some sort of media review. It's often a review of another podcast on topics that have to do with food, fitness, health, weight loss, diet culture, all of that. And so sometimes it changes. It's often podcasts. Today it happens to be some TV shows. So we'll get there. First, I like to start with a mental health check-in. For those of you that have been with me for a long time, I've been doing this podcast for many years, and I've been through many ups and downs with my mental health. And I had a startup company that went through massive turmoil over the past 10 years. So my very loyal listeners have definitely been with me on that journey, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Right now, so this, I think mental health in general is a journey, right? You have some weeks where you're flying high and some weeks where you're really low. And I have found my own practices, if you will. So what I like to share throughout my segments is, what's helped me, what's worked for me, in case anybody out there can garner some sort of benefit from it. And so this past week was my birthday week. I turned 46. So, and I was really happy to celebrate my birthday with people that I love, really good friends, and my partner, Chad. And Chad did some really sweet things. He took me out for a delicious dinner, which I'll be getting into pretty soon in my little tasty treat section. And let's see, he got me some really nice gifts. He got me a Lululemon gift card. I told him not to get me anything because really I just wanted a really nice, delicious dinner with good wine. He took me out for an incredible cocktail, again, which I will get into. And then my friends surprised me with a little birthday celebration, a delicious cake, and it was so sweet. They didn't have to do that, and I just am very grateful for, people in my life that just go above and beyond to show me that they care. It's really nice. So that was really special, and I'm just feeling grateful to be back here spending my birthday in Arizona. Last year I was on the East Coast and stressed to the brinks, just trying to get my startup company off the ground and working myself to the bone and really struggling without being near my partner, my dogs, my home that I love. And yeah, I just think back to this time last year and really just how much has changed. And, having worked on that company for over a decade, and now to be extracting myself from that company over this past year to, I started a personal training business because I really believed I wanted to be a full-time coach. And this is something else that I did want to talk about on my free show. I've talked more about it behind the paywall, but I did decide that I no longer want to be a full-time nutrition and training coach. I've realized it's not a good fit for me. Just physically, it's not going to work with my body, just in terms of lifting heavy weights like full time for other people. Like, I like to do my own personal training for my own body, and I enjoy doing it part time, but as I started to get into it, I just realized it's just not what I want to do full time. And I had invested in a website, I had invested in all kinds of education, and I'm still grateful that I have that education. I will keep my certifications because I love learning, and I think the knowledge is great. And, here and there I might, like right now I have a few clients that I am working with, and I enjoy working with those clients, and I'm going to continue to work with just select few clients. So that will continue, but just, it's not going to be, and the reason I want to talk about this is one of my listeners did just DM me on Instagram, asking how the coaching was going, wishing me well, that I'm getting new clients and that I'm building my business. And it was really, really sweet of her to reach out with those well wishes. But I did want to just come out, and that was one of the reasons that I changed my whole intro. Again, if this is the first time you've heard the show, like, you're not understanding the differences in the intro, but I was talking about how you can support reality health coaching, and if you want to, work with me as a coach. And so I'm just I decided, after a decade of working with this startup company and feeling like, is this the right path for me? Is this the right path for me? And then that company, we're not a complete failure yet. Like, we still have some shred of hope with, some of the people that are trying to take over for me. But what I realize is that at this point I'm 46 years old. And if I want to, I feel like I have one more career that I want to build one more career, like one more career that I can retire with. This podcast will continue to be like this side hustle, fun thing that I do, passion project, which who knows, eventually this would be great if this could become something that I work on more full time at least. But for right now, it's just my passionate side hustle. I am still doing some coaching on the side, but I just kind of wanted to be really open and honest with all my listeners that I'm just no longer pursuing the full-time coaching. Okay, so that's just something that's new. I'm not driving people to that website anymore. And I think, honestly, like, it took me a second to be like, is this embarrassing for my soul that I'm just giving up so quickly on this? And, I spent all this money building a website and figuring out my branding and so much time. And I'm like, no, like, this is what you should do. You should, if something doesn't resonate with you, you should move on and pivot quickly. And I'm realizing that that's just something that I need to do for myself when that feels right to me at the moment. So that's what I'm doing. I did get in with this really good company that I see huge potential in. I will most likely pursue a master's degree with this company because they have tuition reimbursement. So again, I speak a little bit more clearly about that on my subscriber shows behind the paywall. I just was talking about it with my VIP listeners. And so I'm going to keep a lot of the specifics behind the paywall, but I am making that company more of a full-time focus for me, and then doing just some of the other stuff, health and wellness wise, on the side, and enjoying it, right? So that's kind of where I am career wise. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in my mental health segment is, so this is an area of fascination for me, and I mentioned it briefly, maybe on one of my recent shows. But for those of you that are watching the Donna Adelson murder trial, I don't know, is anyone out there watching this trial? I am literally obsessed. So like many women, I love true crime, and I'm particularly fascinated with these wealthy, successful people that have so much going on in their lives, so many blessings in life, if you will. And then they think that they can like get away with murder. Whether it's a man that's like, oh, I'm just going to knock off my wife and run off with my mistress and think I'm going to get away with it. And think that that's a better solution to divorce. It's like, yeah, you're going to lose some money, probably have a couple of years of stress and difficulties, maybe have to share custody, but you won't spend the rest of your life in prison, right? So it's just, again, fascinating to me because it's like you have your freedom, you have the ability, and the biggest thing for me is the eating part, right? This is the Diet Obsessed podcast. We love talking about delicious food, and imagine that you, again, and I talked about this with Sam Bankman-Fried, you can travel the world, you have millions of dollars, you can eat anything, you can travel to Italy and eat fresh pasta and go to France for fresh pastry and just eat anything you want, right? So this Donna Adelson, who's the matriarch of this wealthy family in Florida, is on trial for the murder of her brother-in-law, or not, her son-in-law, because she wanted her grandkids to be able to relocate to southern Florida where she lived because her daughter was going through a very contentious divorce, and basically it wasn't going to happen, right? The judge wasn't going to allow the relocation to happen. She wanted her grandchildren to be closer to her. The son-in-law was trying to put a some sort of parental watchdog over the grandmother, not letting her have free visitation rights with the grandchildren. So there was just a lot there. And she had him literally murdered. Well, she basically got her son, Charlie,
I've gained
to hire
a third of my body weight here.
to go and murder this
diet
guy.
is low carbs,
And
no
so
protein, and
Charlie right now is in prison. So he is serving a life
spaghetti with
sentence
mashed potatoes, cornbread,
for the
white bread.
murder
That's your dinner.
of this
It's
Dan
very
Martell
typical of
guy.
what we get.
And again, it's like,
had
so this
no
is a guy
exercise,
that
at all. We're
loved,
confined,
like
especially
featured in the many clips on YouTube
annex.
that I watch.
Annex, we've been
Loved
confined to our beds
Maine lobster.
almost all the time.
Okay, I'm
Once
from
in a
Maine.
while, we get a
I'm not
pod
even a
officer
lobster fan,
that
but
lets us
he
walk,
would
so
he would
you can walk
bring
in a
up all the time how he loved his Maine lobster. He loved the finer foods, loved to indulge in delicious upscale food items, and now he's eating prison food, literally. And it's like, he and I think, again, I think hubris, and I think also money does makes people feel very powerful, and like they can get away with anything, right? And again, like the mother is the one, and this was a decade long, over a decade of an FBI investigation. So for a decade, they knew they were getting investigated. They imagine the mental health challenges that this family faced, knowing that they were getting investigated, knowing that the wires were tapped and they had to sneak around. And then losing your court case, going to jail. Like they had this video the other night where Charlie was he was on his way to jail, eating Wendy's like it was the most delicious thing in the world. And I do have a clip of Donna talking about and complaining about the prison food. So let me see if I can play this, and let's see if you can hear this.
I've gained more than a third of my body weight here. The diet is all carbs, no protein, and when you get spaghetti with mashed potatoes, cornbread, and white bread, that's your dinner. That's very typical of what we get. And we have had no exercise at all. We're confined, especially in the annex. The annex, we've been confined to our beds almost all the time. Once in a while, we get a pod officer that lets us walk, so you can walk in a circle.
So eventually, I will learn how to bring these clips, and I might try to edit this, but I'm gonna keep my expectations very low. So anyway, so Donna Adelson was complaining how she's gained a ton of weight in prison because all they have are things like high carb, low nutrient meals, things like pasta, rice, beans, hot dogs, white bread. So just a lot of like starchy, high carb, low protein, very cheap food. And again, she did this to herself, right? This woman is now in her 70s. And not only is she going to rot in jail, she will most likely lose this case. I mean, the evidence is very, very clear that she was kind of the mastermind behind this whole murder. And now she'll probably have to eat prison food for the rest of her life, just like her son will. I mean, imagine this is a millionaire family, good-looking family. They were all like doctors, like literally. Wendy, the daughter, is a lawyer. The daughter that was the one that they wanted to get the grandkids closer. The whole family owned like a periodontist practice or something like that. So it's educated, wealthy people that decided to not value another human being's life. I mean, she took away this father from her grandchildren. It literally boggles my mind what goes through the brains of some of these people that commit these kind of atrocities. And now you lie in the bed that you made, right? Now you're eating prison food for the rest of your life. You could have been eating Maine lobster. You could have been eating, delicious Thai food. Sucks to be you now, right? I guess you really should have thought about, do I actually want to murder this person? Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing. So in the grand scheme of things, it's, I always think I'm going to get caught no matter what I'm doing. So even if it's the most minute thing, that's why I like to keep my side of the street clean. But yeah, so that's just one thing I think about often when it comes to the mental health, right? Like we all go through various mental health challenges. And I think one of the best practices I learned is thinking, what is the worst thing that can happen here, right? Like, let me get my mind around what is the worst case scenario in this situation, and being like, okay, that's not too bad. I can get over that if that happens, and that's the worst thing that could happen. So, we're safe. We have our freedom. So anyway, that always helps me get through. But yeah, so mental health wise, this has been a pretty good week overall, I have to say. So yeah, that is my mental health check-in of the week. I hope all of you have had a great mental health week this week yourselves. All right, let's get into a longevity lifestyle segment. So I got a keratin treatment the other day. Can you tell? Well, I guess this is the first time you're seeing me. So yeah, my hair was just, so every year I like to treat myself to Brazilian blowout keratin treatment, if you will. And this year I put it off a little bit longer. And I used to go to this one woman that would give me this really good deal on it, like $150. And that was something I got off Groupon, or at least she would give me the Groupon price. And then my own stylist started doing it recently. So I was super excited because I love this guy. He's super talented. And yeah, it's amazing how shiny and smooth it gets, and it just is so good for my very, very frizzy, very dry hair. So I got that done the other day, and I'm loving the results. He put in a lot of the, whatever it is that they use, the keratin, the actual formula. He used a lot of it. I could kind of feel it burning my scalp a little bit, but it was worth it. So got that done. And then it was not, I couldn't get my roots done at the same time, so I had like all my grays showing, but then I just went back for that last week, so I got my roots done, so you can see it in my grays right now. And then, let's see, and then this coming Saturday, I'm getting my Dysport done. So hopefully this will go up a little bit, and my neck will be even a little bit tighter. So yeah, I'm excited to get I'm probably going to get around 150 units of Dysport. So next time you see me, I'll be extra snatched. So very excited about that. Still doing now it's been probably, probably 8 months since I last got Botox or Dysport. And I really, truly believe that my red light therapy mask is prolonging the time in between. Like, I actually think I got away with extending my time between the treatments because of this red light therapy mask. I'm telling you, I am so sold on this. It is the best investment that I had Chad make for me as in the form of a gift, because I do it literally every single day. And like I was mentioning in a recent podcast, it's really good for your mitochondria all over your body, not just where the mask is. So very happy with all of those treatments and soon to get treatments. And that is my longevity lifestyle segment of the week. All right, let's get into a diet culture media moment. Now, this is going to be a little bit, I'm always talking about the GLP-1s, right? I'm fascinated by this topic. And I actually had a friend recently that she used to be on the carnivore diet. And, she struggled with weight her entire life. And she was a huge proponent of the carnivore diet because she was someone that would, if she ate sugar, if she ate starchy foods that were indulgent, she would really have that intense craving, binging. She had a lot of the food noise. It was very, very hard for her to control her carb intake. And I think the carnivore diet she did end up losing a lot of weight when she initially did it. And she was just a huge proponent of it. I'm like, girl, I could never do that. I don't know how you're doing it, but if it works for you, fantastic, more power to you. But in my mind, I'm like, anybody, and again, this is, I know this is not the case because some people really enjoy being on the carnivore diet. But for me, it would be absolute torture. It would not be living life. Like, I do think that, like, carbs are delicious and we need carbs in our diet for energy, for a lot of things. And again, I think obviously too much of anything is not good. But to me, it was always, I'm fascinated by people that can be on that diet because I just could not do it. So recently she started doing the GLP-1s, and for a long time she didn't, right? And a lot of it was the backlash. It was the stigma. It was people shaming, the idea that people were going to shame her for taking it away from diabetics and blah, 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 like all that rhetoric. And so she finally started using them. She looks amazing. I mean, she just is so happy. Like, she's just, because now, like, she was the one that brought me this beautiful Boston cream birthday cake. And, before she would never have had a piece of it. And now she had a piece. She enjoyed that piece of cake, but she didn't go off the deep end. She was full. She can now enjoy these minor indulgences and partake at events and not go off the deep end and still continue to look and feel the way that she wants to look and feel. And, now she's doing that tirzepatide. And basically, I asked her when we went out, during my birthday, I was like, so I said, these have been around for a few years now, I said, and you seem like you just kind of recently started on them. I was like, was there a reason that you didn't try them when they kind of first started becoming, or even in the second year or third year that they started becoming popular? Because I believe, I'm trying to think, not when I first started this podcast, but probably, the year after? I feel like GLP-1 started becoming really popular maybe 2 to 3 years ago. That's kind of what I'm feeling. And I think I started this podcast in 2021. So, and I've done it a million topics on it. And so I was like, is this new? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I just didn't, she's like, at first I didn't want the backlash. I didn't want the stigma. And she's like, she was saying how the semaglutides, too many side effects, and she feels great on the tirzepatide. I mean, at first she was on a very low dose. They increased a little too high, and she's like, I could not even eat. She's like, I did not want to eat at all. She's like, it was just too much. And now she's really kind of on a perfect dose for her. So I think it was like, I forget exactly what her dose was, but for her, she's on a really good dose for her where she can still eat, enjoy life. And she's smaller than I've ever seen her. And again, but she's also very, very fit. Like, she works out like a maniac. She builds muscle. She still eats a lot of protein. So she's doing all the right things, right? So I'm really, really happy for her, and the fact that she doesn't have to worry about the stigma anymore, right? There's so many people using GLP-1s, and she is doing it the way that it should be done. She's followed by a doctor. She showed me this app where it tracks all of her not just her weight, but it tracks her body fat, her visceral fat, her lean muscle, like everything. And she's obviously, like, as she's lost weight, of course she's lost some lean muscle. But she is being careful to eat a lot of protein and do the right things to try to maintain as much as she can. So, and anytime you're going to lose weight, you are going to lose some muscle, right? You just can lose a lot more if you're not intentionally using protein and lifting weights. So it is really, all right. that was my diet culture media moment of the week. All right, let's get into my healthy habits. This past week, let's see, I've been working out a good amount. I did some plyometrics at the gym the other day. I am now back taking my dog out for walks, so that's been really good. I'm trying to train him to be a better walker on a leash. Literally just like takes off like a rocket and tries to drag me. It's terrible. He's not a well-trained dog. Had made some delicious turkey meatballs. So I've been eating some of those for high protein. I have been munching on carrots and pea pods, and I got some of those olives with the pit to just snack on. You know, anytime if I'm bored and I just want to munch on something, these green organic olives from Trader Joe's that have a pit in them, they're huge, and they take a while to eat because you have to you don't want to break your tooth on one of the pits. So that's nice. It's definitely taking a lot longer to eat, which is good for me. And, just trying to get in the nice balance, doing my superfood smoothie, blending in some of the beet and the beet and celery pulp that I made into ice cubes, some of the citrus pulp. So, and then what else did we make the other day? I've been doing a lot of my Greek salads or my Mediterranean salads with the chopped cucumber, the black olives, red onion, a little bit of feta cheese, some pistachios, and then the dressing is just that olive oil, red wine vinegar, a little Dijon mustard, a little bit of water, some basil or oregano. I think I put basil in this one, and it's actually really good this time. I love it. So I've been enjoying that salad. I just love that salad so much. Again, I'm still doing a lot of the double scoop of protein in my superfood smoothie every morning just to get that extra protein. And then with the animal protein I'm getting in, I'm definitely over 100 grams per day for the most part. So that's continuing to go well. I just started training a 6-year-old. Can you believe that? I trained her for the first time last week, and the parents are, very educated, very kind people, and I think they just want to create really good healthy habits for her. She was so cute. She was just this little tiny girl, and I think it's good that the whole family is working out there. I train the mom separately, and then this will be our second session that we have today, and I just keep it fun with lots of different I was like, see this rope? It's like a snake, and you could just lift it, and she just loved that, and it's such a good workout for her. We did some stuff with like a medicine ball, just throwing it, and she just had fun. So that's really what we're doing, is just trying to make moving your body fun. And it's good for her to see her mom and her dad also, moving their bodies in ways that, they enjoy. And I just think it's good for kids to see their parents. And again, I'm not a parent, so I speak not as an expert here, but it does seem like it's a really good thing for kids to see healthy habits in their parents. And I think a lot of my clients have young kids, and they want to be role models for their kids, and I always think that that's like a beautiful thing. So anyway, just trying to keep those good healthy habits this week. I hope all of you have had some great healthy habits this week yourselves. And let's get into my last segment before my my media review, and that's going to be my tasty treats section, my favorite section. Again, for anybody new, I am someone that really tries to strive for balance in my life. So I strive hard to work out consistently, eat well balanced, but I'm one of those people that does eat to live to eat, right? I live to eat. Yeah, definitely not eat to live, that's for sure. I live to eat. And with that, I think that for me, part of life, part of the enjoyment of life is delicious food items, right? And it's funny because I follow this, like, I think that the company's name is like Laugh Out Loud, or what's the name of it? It's a bakery in Maine it's near my sister. It's like, let me just find it. Laugh Loud, Smile Big. That's the name of the cupcake company. And they posted a post about, oh God, it was something about, because they have these incredible cupcakes. They're so sugary and delicious. Oh my God, they're insane. But somebody must have made a comment on social media about giving people diabetes because obviously, there's a lot of sugar and there. It's a bakery. It's literally a bakery for cupcakes, and they do make some other stuff, but it's like these extremely sugary, decadent, indulgent cupcakes. And so I think they were like, oh, we just had to respond that one cupcake will not cause diabetes, right? So they're kind of, to me, the post meant, look, people, we know that this is not a health food store. Everything in moderation, right? If you're having an occasional treat, enjoy it. Obviously, the problem with America is some people just eat that stuff and overindulge to the point where they do get diabetes, right? So, and it's funny because, again, as nutrition and weight loss coach and personal trainer, I'm like, oh, I really got to live by example here. And ultimately, when it comes to this show, I think for me, I need to just speak my truth. For me, the only thing that's kept me going doing this since 2021 has been, I just love talking about food and love talking about like how passionate I am about it, and delicious food. And I think healthy food, whole foods can be made into delicious, healthy, nutritious, nutrient dense food items. And then there's also enjoying the pasta and the pizza and the baked goods and the pastry. And for me, to make me happy in life, I need a nice balance of the two. And I do try to find balance because I do think that overindulging, not incorporating physical activity while you're having these indulgences can lead to certain diseases, right? So sometimes I do end up indulging too much and I don't feel good necessarily. Like, I will say this past month, I have been eating way too much cake, birthday cake. I just, like, to the point where I've made myself not like actually throw up, but like nauseous, like definitely like going to bed with my stomach hurting because I've put too much cake into my face, right? Like that's that. And again, I think indulging is fine. I think there comes a point where, okay, maybe that's a little too much. That's why I'm always striving for balance, but I do like to talk about the tasty treats that I enjoy because, again, I just love talking about food. And my birthday dinner I'd been recommended this restaurant called the Mick in it's in Scottsdale, and I was told it's like a French restaurant. And so I looked up the menu. The menu looked awesome. There were many things that I would order. And I like to try something different because I almost always go for Italian food. So I did want to try something a little bit different. And so first, Chad and I went and had the most incredible cocktail. I had the best cocktail of my life. And it was at this place called Weft and Warp Art Bar at the Andaz, which is this very fancy hotel. Excuse me. And so it's this very fancy hotel. And they have this new restaurant. I've been dying to try it. I actually didn't realize it was at the Andaz. But yeah, I'd had breakfast in this place and the Weft and Warp took it over. But they call it an art bar. And truly the masterpieces they create, both from a culinary sense and from a designer cocktail sense, very impressive. Now, I haven't eaten there yet from what I've seen, masterpieces. But just from this initial cocktail experience, I was like, damn, this place is going to be insane. So it was, let's see, I'm trying to see if I wrote down the ingredients of it all. I actually took a picture of it, I think. Let me see what was in it because, so it was called, oh my God, can I even pronounce this? Eudaimonia. It had gin, Aperol, apricot, liqueur, and thyme. And I did post a picture on my Instagram at the Diet Obsessed Podcast. Go follow me. Check out this drink. It ended up, I thought it would be a little bit bitter because of the Aperol, because usually Aperol spritzes and things with Aperol, it's that really bitter flavor. But it was so incredibly well balanced. You did not taste alcohol. It did not taste like alcohol. You didn't taste the bite of gin. You didn't taste the bitterness of the Aperol. The apricot liqueur, I mean, I think that was probably just so sweet. It helped to balance out those bitter tastes. It was beautiful. It was delicious. It was just the perfect start to the night because we just went and had this beautiful view of the pool and the restaurant, and it was a gorgeous day, and sipped on this cocktail and started the night. It was amazing. And then we went to the Mick. Now we got there and it was a very cool vibe. It almost was like this Parisian bistro almost, and they had a lot of beers on tap, which of course Chad loved. They had a huge wine selection, so I had a beautiful glass of rosé, and then I had a glass of Pinot Noir, and then we started with a Creole shrimp tartine, and it was, it had this it was on this big thick piece of sourdough bread, and it had this creamy Creole sauce. I'm not a huge cream person, and a lot of French cooking has a lot of cream bases, but this was delicious. Then we had the house cavatelli with sausage. Oh my God. So, I mean, we weren't in an Italian restaurant. This cavatelli it was so flavorful. Really, really good. Then we had this pork rillé with miso and black garlic and a side of duck fat roasted potatoes. Again, delicious. The pork was very lean. The miso and black garlic was just a very interesting taste. And the duck fat roasted potatoes had a truffle aioli, an onion jam, crispy shallots, which I'm a sucker for a crispy shallot, chives, just absolutely delicious. And then let's see, and yeah, I was just so full. I just could not fit another bite inside me. And then the next day was the Boston cream cake that my friends got for me, which was insanely delicious. I only had one slice of that. I didn't take the rest of it home with me. I could have. But what I knew is that on my actual birthday, which was Monday, there would be a delivery from Chompy's Bakery with some sort of cake. My mom, she's so sweet. She sent me the most delicious cake. Now, mind you, she'd already made me a homemade cake when I went home for my vacation in Maine, and I literally ate almost this entire cake by myself over the course of a week. So this was like my third cake in less than a month, and it was a New York layer cake. So this is a Jewish bakery. So this bakery, you guys, if you visit Arizona, you have to come to the Chompy's on Shea in Scottsdale. It's the best it's one of the best bakeries you'll ever go in. It's so insanely good. And they have an incredibly huge selection. And this layer cake, OMG, it was like layers of tons of layers. I don't even know how many layers, maybe 12 layers. And it had like a light chocolate icing in between the layers of the thin, kind of yellowish cake. And you would have almost thought it was, what are those things called? I don't know. I used to have these like cake pastries. What are they called? I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me. But the icing on top was like a thick fudgy chocolate, and there were like chocolate sprinkles on the sides of it. Oh my God. I'm going to post a picture on my Instagram. It was so good. And I had to finish almost all of it the first day, but Chad and I finish it off on Monday. It was Monday and Tuesday, finished it on Tuesday. And I just have overdosed on cake. And so and overall, sugar and I have been very, very intimate lately. Like I've just been over indulging in sugar to the point where I do want to take a little step back from the sugar overdosing. You know, we're about to get into the holiday season. So I think this month, September, I'm just going to take a little step back from overindulging in the sugar. I don't know. I don't know whether it's hormonal or what, like just celebrating my birthday for a month. I'm like, I'm going to just let myself eat whatever. And yeah, so I'm noticing some changes in the way my clothes are fitting me, which is fine. But I do want to just get back on track just for my own health, for my own like energy level, and just I know when I'm eating mostly whole foods, I just feel better. So I am going to just take a little step back from overindulging in so much sugar, but really, really delicious. Thank you all for the beautiful birthday cakes for those of you that are out there that were part of sending them to me. And yeah, it's time to stop eating cake. But those were my tasty treats of the week. I hope all of you have had some delicious, tasty treats this week yourselves. All right, for my media review, I do see that we're coming on close to an hour here, and I was going to do a full review of the Biggest Loser documentary that was on Netflix. I'm going to save that for a future episode. I think today I wanted to talk about the most recent show that I got sucked into, which was Love Thy Nader. And this was a reality show on Hulu. Love reality shows. For those of you that have been listening to me for a while, you know my passion for reality. Now this is, so for those of you that don't know who Brook Nader is, she is a supermodel. I'm definitely used to being able to take breaks all the time, and anyway, we'll see how this comes out with the editing, but anyway. So Love Thy Nader. So this is a reality show about the Nader sisters. So Brooks Nader was this, she was on Sports Illustrated, and she was basically won this like cattle call, modeling call. She got handpicked by Christy Brinkley to be this like next supermodel. And she's gorgeous. Now, I have to say, okay, when I saw her, she does look, and again, I know you're not supposed to talk about women's looks, but this show, we just talk openly and honestly. So if you're offended by this type of thing, maybe this isn't the show for you. But she is obviously this like supermodel, gorgeous. She did look like she had a lot of work done. I don't know. I at first I tend to think that models don't necessarily have as much work as other people like reality stars and whatnot. But she did admit in the show that she had a nose job, that she had, I don't know if she said that she had a breast augmentation, but she did, I guess she's worried that she looks like Michael Jackson. So it did show in one of the episodes towards the end, her before and after, like her before nose job, her after nose job. Now, I thought she had a good nose. I think I don't think when she drew the comparison with Michael Jackson, I'm like, oh, I kind of see it. Because her cheekbones are so like prominent, and then her nose now is like so tiny. And I just think the best nose jobs, you kind of still, it does resemble your old nose, but there's just maybe a slight change where you still look like yourself. I don't know that they did that with her, but look, she obviously looks gorgeous. She's very successful. I just think, I don't know, maybe she went a little overboard with like the extreme nose job. But again, it doesn't sound like she's having any issues booking gigs, and it looks like people love the nose job. So what I noticed is, and again, it's funny because sometimes you just make assumptions that these supermodels just have that model body. They're just like these tall, very, very, very thin humans that are just naturally like that's how they were born genetically. I used to go to school with a girl that became very big in the modeling world, and she like literally her legs in person, it looked like you could like break them and like snap them. Her legs were just these little tiny sticks. It almost looked like an arm, her leg. And I've always known that, okay, supermodels like in person are extremely thin. And so I just kind of assumed that was like her body. And then they actually disclosed, like one of her sisters kind of made a joke. She's like, oh, you're taking too much of that, like those weight loss drugs. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if, like, is that like a real joke? And then later, so she had to do this, she had like show up to do this Zumba class. And she like doesn't really work out. She like talks about how she really does not work out that much. And she was getting so winded from any type of movement. She was just having to do some like little movements in Zumba, like little dances. And it was exhausting her to the point where she was getting weak. And apparently then she started talking about how she's been using these GLP-1s and how she's lost like 30 pounds on these GLP-1s. And it showed the before and after. She's like, when these first came out, I really didn't think I was going to do them. She's like, and then, but all the agents and stuff were saying that if I lost 30 pounds, I would get so much more work. And that has been true. So it shows like the before of her in like a very healthy, normal size body. And then the after where she's so skinny. Like, again, I can't imagine what she looks like in person. And in person, I would imagine it's a little bit jarring, like, whoa, because she almost looked a little, you know how some people, when they get too thin and their head almost looks like a little bit of a bobblehead, it just looked, their head's almost like too big for their body at that point. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Just, and I think it's because she doesn't have a lot of muscle tone, right? She's just very, very skinny, and she doesn't lift weights. She like barely eats. She was like talking about how, when she upped this dose, she has no appetite, she doesn't eat. And she was admitting like she barely eats and she doesn't work out. And I'm thinking to myself, this girl is going to develop osteoporosis and have cognitive issues. It's just because you can, if you're using these GLP-1s, there's a way to do it. And it's lifting weights, and it's eating some protein, and it's maintaining as much lean muscle as you can. Because I'm sorry, to me, nothing is worth completely losing my health, breaking a femur, developing dementia. There's all these ties to cognitive decline if you don't have muscle mass, if you lose bone density. I'm sorry, I do everything I can to support, keeping as many brain cells as I possibly can through, fighting off free radicals and, like oxidation in the brain and all of the things. And I just think that, doctors that talk about the GLP-1 uses constantly mention the impacts to cognition and to cognitive decline if you, again, lose too much muscle mass, lose bone density. It affects it affects your overall health, right? So when I'm watching Brooks Nader almost faint in a Zumba class because she's using these weight loss drugs and she's not eating, she's not working out, I'm thinking, I suddenly see her in this whole new light where I'm like, girl, you don't look that healthy anymore to me. I don't know. When you're just skin and bones and you don't have any muscle mass and you're just, I don't know. To me, that's not as attractive as, and it's just not healthy, right? Like, I think health, you really, and I know you can't really tell health just by looking at somebody. You really can't. The health at any size movement really did teach that there's a lot of people in larger bodies that are extremely healthy, that just genetically are in a larger body. So just being thin does not mean that you're healthy. It does not mean, a lot of things. And obviously obesity can cause certain diseases, right? So, but I just think that, like, who knew that maybe that's very naive of me to think, oh, these models aren't doing it. Obviously, everyone's using these things. And I've probably put on a good, 13 pounds over the past, I don't know, it has been just like a little over a month, maybe a month and a half. And it's because I've been overindulging in sugar and a lot of eating out, baked goods, all that. And I did think that my body would just bounce back a little quicker than it has, and it hasn't. I am glad that these GLP-1s exist for the future if I ever did want to use them. But I do feel like if I just get back to eating less sugar, having a little bit better balance between my healthy habits and my indulgences, I think I'll be just fine. I also think that, and again, I'm 46. She's like 29 or something, 28, 29. So she's not thinking the way I'm thinking, right? Like, I've seen her, she has really young parents. I saw my dad decline and die too early and all these things. And I think what you see and what you're exposed to in life greatly impacts how you take care of yourself, the choices that you make, And I think a lot of people are pretty reckless in their 20s. They're not being as careful as they might be in their 40s, right? When we realize, oh shit, I got to really take care of this body or I'm going to lose it completely. And a lot of times that starts happening in their 30s. Some people are always health nuts for life, and some people just realize that they do need to take better care of themselves as they age, as they start to develop injuries. And I'm guessing if she keeps using it this way and not taking care of her body the way that she should, something will make her pay better attention to it, whether it's, I don't know, some sort of health marker, whether it's actually breaking a bone, whether it's getting sick, whether it's whatever. I just think that we all, like the habits that we build, we end up seeing the result of those habits. I've learned in personal training that if you have imbalances in the way that you move, it really does catch up with you. I used to be able to run miles and miles and miles, and I hit a point in I think it was my early 40s. Yeah, my early 40s, where I couldn't complete a 5K because my hips were so tight. It was affecting my hamstrings and my knees. And again, like I had to start doing a lot of foam rolling and stretching and really rehabilitating myself through Pilates and again, just stretching and working on, not heavy, intense workouts, but just more, stretching and flexibility and recovery. And, I'm starting to, now I pretty much have to stretch in order to not get injured. And now I can run again and I can take longer walks again. But again, like I have to be consistent in some of the stretch. Now, if I learned to stretch and I had been better about it younger, maybe I wouldn't have had these issues as I got older. But yeah, I think you live and you learn. And again, I'm not hoping that she has some sort of repercussion, but I do worry. Like there's people that I am fans of that I watch, and I'm like, do they work out? Do they do any type of strength training at all? And some of them don't, and some of them are on these GLP-1s, and I'm like, are they, like, what's the point they're going to reach where they realize they do need to do these things? And I hope it's not. And again, some people, I think, genetically are predisposed to things like osteoporosis. Like my mom had, she did develop, I don't think she actually developed osteoporosis. I think she had osteopenia because she never actually developed full-blown osteoporosis. But anyway, again, I just know genetically I am probably predisposed to osteopenia, osteoporosis, which again is why I take bone density and muscle mass very seriously. Maybe some of and some like Brooke Nader might not have, she might not have osteopenia or osteoporosis in her family. So she might not be predisposed to having some of these issues. She might be just fine. She might be able to live her life, eat nothing on the GLP-1s, and live her supermodel best life and not ever have any repercussions. And then other people would, right? So you just really don't know. I think a lot of us are genetically predisposed to different things, and how our lifestyles do determine what we're going to get, what we won't get. And it could be the level of stress we have in our lives. It could be developing a virus, right? Like I talked about my friends that, have had liver issues or whatever, multiple sclerosis, and something triggers it, right? Like you just never know. So not that you should live your life in fear of these things, but I think awareness is important. And I think, again, for me, at 46 years old, seeing dementia in my family, seeing heart attacks, seeing high cholesterol, seeing stroke, seeing diabetes, seeing mobility issues. I don't want to be sick at 60. In another 14 years, I want to be traveling the world and living my best life and looking a decade younger. That's just me, but I think different things are important to different people, and I'm certainly someone that wants to have strong bones, and I do watch my weight, and I do, and again, some people might think that that's disordered, right? There's a lot of people that think, oh, if you talk about managing your calorie intake and, you're talking about cutting back on sugar, that's disordered. Again, I think there's lots of different feelings on these topics out there. We all have to find what's right for us. This podcast is for those of us that want a safe space to talk about this stuff, whether it's fat phobia, fat acceptance, this new GLP-1 craze. I am, having worked in the weight loss industry, worked in health clubs, seeing what I've seen growing up with my family. I'm just fascinated by all of it. It's one of my favorite topics of discussion. How to improve yourself, how to get in better health. And then also, what are you indulging in? What are you eating? I love talking about people's diet, right? And diet in the truest sense of what are you eating? And I think, again, people that don't partake, right? Like Brook Nader is clearly so career focused, constantly talking about the competition in the industry, and you have to look a certain way, and you have to fit in a certain size, and you'll just get replaced. She is so career focused and so conscious of her body and staying super, super, super skinny and thin. And that's what she feels she needs to do in order to compete at the level she's at. I could not do that. Like, I'm so glad that's not my job, right? No thank you to supermodels, stardom. I like to eat too much. So now if I could be a food critic, that would be the life. But I did want to just talk about that because, all of her sisters basically had this intervention to talk about how she was using these GLP-1s, how she was using the shots, like, doing it in a more healthful way. And they were, it sounds like they were just very, very concerned. And it sounds like, and the sisters range anywhere from like 23 years old to 28 years old. And they've all tried these weight loss drugs. And it's like, oh my God, there's like everybody's using them. It's so crazy. Yeah, it's becoming so popular. But again, these are very, this is what the backlash was all. Well, I guess a lot of people were talking about, people that had the 10 pounds to lose, right? When she said they told her to lose 30 pounds, I'm like, there's no way she had 30 pounds to lose. But really, when they showed the before picture of her, I mean, she still was drop dead gorgeous. Just, she just looked a little softer. But I mean, I kind of think that she looked better with a little bit more weight on her. I think, to me, again, with the extremes, like I think she did have a breast augmentation. I think she has these larger, voluptuous breasts that really stand out because she's so skinny. And then, her very tiny nose and her, I don't know. I personally think she looked great, slightly with more body fat and probably muscle mass. But, if that's what people are going to do, what people are going to do. We all are on our own journey, and I'm here to watch it all, observe it all, and talk about it. I will try to reserve judgment, although, look, we're all judgmental creatures. But, and again, like, I know we're in this era where we're not supposed to talk about celebrities' bodies, and we're not, but, you know, you're putting it out there for public consumption, and people like me that have a podcast called the Diet Obsessed Podcast, we're going to talk about it. So I know that I didn't have any segments this week. This week was very diet culture, GLP-1 focused. You know, many vapid topics like the Donna Adelson prison food topic. But that's what we like to talk about on this show. So I do try to put in some, you know, science of strength, nutrient news. You will get some of this science-based stuff eventually. We talk about research studies occasionally. Not today, though. Not today, folks. So anyway, that is the show. Please subscribe to this channel. Just click that subscribe button. That really, really helps us. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to Craving More or Craving More VIP. Those are my 2 premium content shows. Now, they will not be on YouTube because they're not public shows. I don't know. I got to figure out whether you can do some sort of subscription thing on YouTube. I'm sure you can, but right now they're audio only. You can subscribe through Patreon by searching the Diet Obsessed Podcast. You can subscribe through Apple Podcasts. And all of this is through the link in my bio on Instagram. If you go follow me at the Diet Obsessed Podcast. If there's any topics you want me to cover, shows you want me to review, podcasts on similar topics, I do love to hear from my audience. I do take all feedback seriously. Sometimes I make changes, sometimes I don't, but I do hear and see it all. So the engagement always helps, whether you hate me or love me. I certainly have many haters, but that's okay. We love the haters too. And until we meet again, I hope all of you have a very balanced